Good day everyone. So this video will tackle Android Studio step-by-step setup guide for Windows. So for checking the system requirement, before we install Android Studio, which is our platform to develop this program, we need to check first or to make sure if we have the required version of Java and JDK on our machine. So let's say for example we start from scratch and we don't have any Java or JDK installed in our program. We can easily install it by simply opening a browser and we have to search for Java JDK. So this is my browser. So let me check by simply typing or searching Java JDK. And as we see, there are different links here of sources for Java JDK, but we suggest that the first link should be used to download Java SE. So as the time this video is recorded, this is the latest version of Java SE that we have. We have the Java SE 14. And then for us to download it, we just have to click this JDK download button. And then as we drag it down, we have the different operating system that we can choose for the JDK. So it depends on the machine that we're using. So in my case, I'm using Windows 64-bit. So I have to click this link to download the JDK. So those instructions were given on this presentation. Okay, so we have to click the JDK download. And then, on my case, I'm using Windows 64-bit. And then as we open that link, so it will show the license agreement. So we just have to check this button. And then we will start downloading the JDK files or version. So let me just skip on through this because I already have my JDK installed or download. So after we download, we just have to run that specific program or that extra program that we have. So once the executable file is downloaded, you can just run and wait for it to successfully completed. Now, how can we check if we have the JDK installed on our Windows OS? So all we need to do is to go to our local drive C of our Windows. So I have here this PC. Then under drive C, I have to look for program files. Under program files, we have to locate the folder name Java. Then as you see, these are the different JDK that I have. So in your case, since if you don't have anything at first and you successfully download JDK and install it, so you will see this JDK version 14.0.2, which means that you have the latest version of JDK. Now after we have the JDK successfully installed, the next important step that we have to do is to set up a system environment. So how do we set up our system environment? So system environment has something to do with the operating system. Operating system would locate the specific path where we install the JDK. So as we run the Android Studio later on, so the Android Studio should locate the specific path where we install the JDK. So on this step, we will set the environment variable. So first step that we need to do is to locate the folder where we have the JDK. So in my case, I have the JDK 14.0.1. So after I locate, I just have to copy the specific path of the bin folder that I have. So going back, so this is my JDK folder. So this is my bin file. So I just have to copy the path. So all you need to do is to copy the path. Okay, and then this path will be used to set our environment variable. So how do we set environment variables? So in Windows, you just have to search environment variables. So this is my window. I just have to type environment, or just have to type the first word, and you will see here the option edit the system environment variables. So under that properties or system properties, so we have to click the environment variables. So this is what the system environment or the environment variables look like. So as we copy this specific path, we need to add Java by clicking the path and add. So we have to locate that path. So this is my environment variable. So looking on our path, so we have here the path, and then we just have to click edit. So on that edit part, this is where we're going to add our path. So since I already have the specific path, so after I click edit, I just have to click new. I have here new, and then paste that specific path which I have. Okay, and then after that click OK. So you're looking here, yeah, we already paste that specific path on our system environment. And after that, now the next step to do is to add Java home in our environment variable. So how do we do that? So in the environment variable, you have to click new. So this is our environment variable. So click new. Okay. So here we have to fill in variable name and then the variable value. So on the variable name, you have to put Java underscore home, and then on the variable value, you have to paste the specific path of our JDK folder. So where is that JDK folder? So again, on the variable name, just have to type Java underscore home, and then the variable value should be the path of the JDK. So we have to locate where the JDK folder is located. So this is the bin path, but we have to copy the JDK path. So these are JDK folder. Again, this we are using JDK 14. So we just have to copy this path and then paste it under our variable value. Then click OK. So if you look, we already have here the Java home system variables. Okay. Now, so we already have set the Java home in our environment, and at the same time we already add Java path. So as we run Android Studio later on, it will automatically locate the JDK um, version that we installed using this path. Now, how we check if we have successfully installed Java on our system? So using cmd or this command prompt, we just have to type Java dash version. So we already have here the Java runtime environment, or you can also use the command prompt Java dash version. So it will show the Java compiler that we installed on our machine. So it was written on here on this particular slide. Now, so we're done with installing JDK. So that's the first requirement for us to before we install Android Studio. Now let's proceed with installing Android Studio. So right now, as part of this recording, we have the new version of the Android Studio available in the market, which is the Android 4.0. So it's very easily or simple to install, just like what we do on JDK a while ago. First, we just have to open our browser and search for Android Studio. So again, we have the different link here that we can um, look for Android Studio installer, but basically we just have to consider this first link, download Android Studio. So this is where you just have to click download Android Studio options. So this is compatible for Windows 64-bit application. So this is the latest Android Studio version that is available in the market. So as you click download, you just have to click this checkbox I have read, and then click this button, download Studio for Windows. Okay, so it would take time for you to download it successfully. Now since I have already in my Android Studio downloaded here, so let's look on the next step. So after we download, the next step is to install Android Studio.exe. So you just have to follow this procedure on your machine. So clicking next, and other things that we need to do. Basically, you just have to click next until it will finish. Now, as first time we run Android Studio on our program, you will basically see this prompt dialog. So this is where Android Studio tells you if you want to import settings on your previous Android Studio installed. But for the first time user, I suggest you just have to click the do not import setting option. Again, it will show first time you open Android Studio on your machine. But if you successfully installed Android Studio and then you want to open it again, so that dialog box will not be shown. Yeah. So first thing, Android Studio will download all the necessary parameters needed before we start our program. So make sure that the status of your Android Studio is already finished before you do anything. So first time you open Android Studio, you will notice this notification. So in Android Studio, there's also options. If you open it first time, the Android Studio will ask you if you want to send usage data click or send usage through their system. So I suggest you just have to click don't send that. Then after that, it will proceed on the Android Studio setup wizard. So this wizard will just basically shown first time you open Android Studio. So just have to follow this specific procedure so that you can successfully download those necessary components. Now, if we already download Android Studio, so this is the window that it will show the different options in Android Studio. So in our case, we can start creating our first Android Studio project, or we can use open an existing Android Studio project if you were going to open a specific program or Android Studio project on your machine. Now, let's try to start a new Android Studio project. So let me open Android Studio on my machine. So this is how it looks like. So you have different options. Start a new Android Studio project, open an existing Android Studio project, get from version control, and other parameters that you could have. Since we're starting a new Android Studio project, so let me click on Start a New Android Studio Project. So in this case, we have to select a project template. So first, click Empty Activity, and then Next. And then, this is where we will going to configure our project. So configure the project by filing name and choose the language we want to use. So on my name, so this is the application name that we have. For example, I'm going to create my first program. I will name it program 1. So package name is the directory wherein it will store the entire files for our Android Studio project, and this is how we will locate, or this path will store the Android Studio projects that we're creating right now. And under language, so make sure that you have to click Java since we're using Java all throughout our experiments. You can also choose minimum SDK for your program to run. So what do we mean by minimum SDK? So we have the different Android versions available in the market. So it depends on you what particular device that you want to target for your application to run. So I suggest you can simply choose lower versions or Android 4.1 Jelly Bean. So it means that as long as the user uses Android 4.1 versions, they can run your applications. Or this is the minimum SDK versions that you can set on your machine. So it also shows that right now approximately 99.8% Android users in the market that are currently using either Android 4.1 version or above. So good thing, if we have the minimum SDK, we can somehow figure out the number of devices that this application can run. And then we can just click finish. So we just have to wait for our project to load before we do anything else. So again, you will notice here, every time that we create project, so it would automatically create what we call this Gradle. So it will build the necessary parameters that our program needed as we go through the different files that are going to use in our Android development. So just have to wait for this process to finish before you do anything else. Again, we have to wait for this Gradle thing to finish before we do anything. So while we are waiting for our Gradle to finish, so let me go to on my slide. So we can go back any time on this PowerPoint presentation so that you will be guided throughout this step that we done so far. So as we create new projects, So once the Gradle is finished, you are presented within this thing. So later on, I will discuss these different parameters that we have. I also have here the Word file that we need on this sample program. So this is actually the source code in our Android applications that we're going to have. So we want to develop this kind of application. So this is let me zoom it out. So we want to create this type of application. In this window have text field. So we have your text field, enter your name, and then some text, are you ready? So I want to create an application wherein the user would enter his or her name here on this field. And then there are two buttons available, whether you click yes or no. So if the user will enter his name, and then the system asks, are you ready? If you click yes, I want message to display whatever your name that you input, and then tells that, let's say, Ronnel, you are ready, or some other word that you want to write on our program. So this how I want my application should looks like. Okay, now let me go back with Android Studio to check if I already or if the Gradle is already finished. Yeah, okay. So you will notice here that we don't have the running process, so it means that everything is already finished. Yeah, so configure successfully. Last 4 minutes and 5 seconds. Okay. So at first you will have this window. So this will be our main activity .java file, wherein we will going to um, type whatever the source code needed in our program. So under the Java files or main activity .java. So looking on our source code, you will see that we have here file name or the main activity Java source code that we have. So we have here the instructions that we need to follow. So by default, you will notice that there are already um, source file or source code or content that we have on our main activity .java. So we just have to look for other parts of our program that we need to add up here. So just like our package, so no need to copy this specific path. So we just have to add the different import parameters that we need to use on our Android program. So by default, we already have this import Android app compatibility and or compat activity, and then the android.os.bundle. So let's go back on our source code. So you will see here that we need to use different import parameters. So we will use this these are functions or libraries that we're going to use on our program. So since we already have this two line by default, so no need to copy this. Just have to copy the rest of the import um, files that we have here. Okay, just have to paste it on our other program. Okay, and then we also have here a class name main activity, which have by default have this specific content. So let me just copy the source code under our class name main activity. Just use the shortcut code. Control C. Okay, so let me just paste it on this specific part. Okay, and then remove unnecessary symbols that we have. So you will notice that we have some red lines here, so don't worry about that. We will fix it later on. So you will notice that there are other parameters which are written in red. So it means that it doesn't have this specific parameter on our yet on our program. So later on it will automatically fix once we add other part of our code. So let me go back on our source code. So the next part of our source code is the activity main.xml. So what does it mean? So on Android Studio, we also have this activity main.xml file. So this is where you will design the interface of our program. So we want to make interface something like this. So we have different tools that we're going to use on this particular program. So you will notice we have some text field and buttons that we need to use. So those can be configured under activity underscore main.xml. So the first time in Android Studio, you will notice if you previously used other versions, there are just some slight difference in Android 4.0 version. So for every program that we create, by default it has this thing like hello world text view here. So if you want to use or to look for the code under activity main XML, you can just simply click this code part. And then if you want to go back on the design, you can simply click design part. Or in Android 4.0, we can use a split part so that you can compare the design part and then the code that we have on our program. So since we will not use this hello world part, you will notice every time that you make difference on your design, it will automatically set the specific codes for that corresponding tools. So just like what I'm doing, I'm moving my text file, so you will notice some other parameters are being changed here. So if I remove this hello world part, so if I delete this, or I can simply remove this thing so that we can add the different tools that we have. On the design view, you can actually browse different areas that you want to look in. So just like what we need to do, we want to add some different tools such as text and buttons on our program. So for example, if I add here plain text, I just simply click, drag and drop that on my design, and then looking on the code, it would automatically add this parameter edit text. Okay, so automatically you can add either source code here on the code part, or you can edit a specific design manually using the design part. Okay. Now, since we already have our source code for activity main XML, so let me just go back on that. So let's try to figure out what will happen, or how this activity main XML source code looks like on our code. So if you notice here on this activity main XML, So our source code is using relative layout appearance or properties. But if we go back on our Android Studio, by default Android Studio 4.0 uses constraint layout. So let me just look on this part. So you will notice that by default any program that are being created under Android 4.0, Android Studio 4.0, by default it is under constraint layout. So how can we change this into a relative layout? All we need to do is just remove this specific path or line, and then we can simply type relative, or if you notice, as long as you type RE, we can have our option as relative layout. So automatically the layout is set under relative layout. Later on you will see what are the different layout that we can use in Android Studio. Okay, so as you've seen also, I didn't change, or I didn't remove other part of this source code in our program, since if we look on our source code, we already have this part, so no need to change this parameter in our program. So either you want to copy or paste it, or just leave it as is. Then next thing is I will copy other parameters under activity main XML up to this line. So let me paste it here. Okay, so you will see, as long as I paste the other parameter, a while ago we have this red line here in main activity Java. So right now we already fixed it, since the Android Studio already locate that we already declared this parameters for ID and activity main XML. So it would automatically fix the main activity.java. So these two are somehow connected to within each other. So basically what we're going to have it here is every time that we call for this parameter, it will look for the find that specific ID on our activity main XML. Now on our activity and name main.xml, so as long as we paste it here, so as we compare again, let me remove that thing. So we don't have anything here. Then as I paste it, so basically automatically the design will be visible here, so it will follow whatever the parameters that we have. But if you notice, there are different parameters here that are in headline, so we need to fix that by looking on these specific parameters on our design. So let's start with our edit text part. So looking on my design, these are the different parameters. So you will look on this parameter. So these are the attributes that are being set on this parameter. So by default, we don't have any name or label yet on these different tools, so we need to set it manually. So how do we do that? So as I look on my source code, so I want my system to look like this. So on this text field, I should have somehow a hint that will tell the user that he have to enter his or her name, and then these different levels also. So in Android Studio, again looking on our code, so it tells that there are some red lines under the parameter hint. So we have to locate this edit text part. So I think it is here. So you will notice every time that you click under this window, it will show you the specific parameter that are being used, or the source code that are being used on that specific tool. So let's start first with our edit text. So on the edit text part, so you will see here that you have different common attributes. So you will notice here the word hint. So we just have to edit this part and add somehow what we call this resource value on our package. So how do we do that? So again, I just have to click this part on my hint, and then we have here options, add, or we can pick resource value, or since we don't have any resource value added on our program, we just have to click add resource to the module. And then we have here two options, string or resource file or the string value. So just have to click string value. So as you click string value, so the Android Studio will require you to input resource name and resource value. So by default, the resource name should be the ID name of our specific tool. So you will see here that the ID name is edit text underscore name. So we have to copy ID name. So again, take note that this parameter is case sensitive. So make sure that you copy the ID name exactly. And then resource value would be the label or the captions of that specific tool. So what should be the label again? So I want my label to be like enter your name. Again, my ID or resource value is edit text underscore name, and my value should be the label enter your name. So I will put here enter your name and then click OK. Now you will see that it is now changed to a label name enter your name, and then as we split screen, as you noticed a while ago, the red line on this edit text value is already removed. So it means that we already set the hint as this resource value parameter. So that step will also be done with other part of our program. Now looking on our second parameter, so this is something to do with text view. So again, text view part should be located under the attribute text. So as I look on my design again, this is my text view and I have to locate the attribute text. So just like what we do a while ago, just have to click this pick a resource field, okay, and then click add resources to the module, and then string value. Again, the resource name should be the ID name that we have. So we have here text view 2, and then resource value should be the caption or label. So we're referring to this area. So ID name is text view 2, and then my value or label should be are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, so make sure that the ID name and the resource name should be on the same format, and then click OK. Okay, so you will notice here that we already have this label, are you ready? So looking on our code, we already fixed this line. Now let's move on our next tool. So we have here button. So this is the first button that we're going to fix first. So again, you have to locate the attribute name or attribute text on our button. So on the design, so we have here the attribute text. Same thing that we have a while ago. We have to pick a resource value for that. So let's look first what should be the resource name or the label on this button. So button, yes, should have the label yes. So under my text attribute, I have to click pick a resource and then click add resources to the module, string value. So again, should be the resource name? Resource name should be the name of the ID. So we have here ID name button underscore. Yes. Then resource value should be the label of our button. So in this case, we're using resource value name yes. Yeah. So we successfully changed this tools. Yeah. So you will notice that is already fixed. Then we can now proceed with the button no. Just like what we do with the yes button. So we have to locate for the text attributes here and then pick a resource, and then for adding value, so you just have to click add resource to the module, string value, and then resource name should be button underscore no for the ID name that we have, and then resource value should be set as no. Okay. Lastly, we have to change this tools text view. So what should we need to have it here? So we need to have a text view which will show the message part here. So the label or the resource name value should be message, and then resource name is text view 3. So again, on my design, I have to look for the pick a resource. Okay. Add resources to module, string value. What will be my ID? Text view 3. Then resource value should be the label message. And click OK. Now if you notice, we already fixed this activity underscore main XML. So we already have the entire source code for this. So we already have the main activity Java, then activity main XML. So after this, we can now run our program. Okay, so now how we will run our program. So let me go back on my PowerPoint slide. So you can just go back here so that you can follow whatever the things that we do a while ago. So running our program or app in an emulator or virtual device. So running the app on an emulator should follow the specific steps. First, in Android Studio, we have to create an Android virtual device or AVD. So that's the emulator that we will going to use to run our application virtually. So how do we do that? So first time running to a device. So we have here an area, click no device on our Android Studio. So let's look on that. Okay, so at first, if you're using Android Studio for the first time, you will see the option no device here. But since I already create AVD for me, so it already shows on this part. But if I want to create new AVD, so I just have to click this open AVD manager. So this is this step, opening AVD. Oops. So just like what we have here. So again, if you don't have any AVD, so it will display no devices. Then click AVD manager. And as we open AVD manager, other way to do that also is to click tools and then AVD manager. So we have these options too. Either we click it here and then open AVD, or we can click tools and then ABD manager. Let's click open ABD manager on this. Now I already have two ABD or virtual device here, but if you want to create your own virtual device since you're using Android Studio for the first time, so I advise you have to follow this step on creating new virtual device. So how do we do that? So for the ABD manager, you should just have to click create virtual device at the bottom of our ABD or Android virtual device manager. As we click create virtual device, there are different options here or devices options here that you can choose on what particular device you want to see as you run or you want to use as you run the program. So let's say for example, if you want to use Pixel 2, Nexus, or anything here, you can just simply click any device that you want to mimic or to have some virtual thing here. So let's say for example, I want to create API under using a Nexus 4 phone. So I just have to click next, and then here we have some sort of system image. So system image is something to do with copying whatever the image that we have on our device, so that as we run our virtual device, it feels that you run the entire or you're running the actual Android device on your phone. So since I already have my system image Oreo, so it automatically shows it here. But on your case, since you're running Android Studio for the first time, you should download first the system image that you want to install on your API. For example, if you want to download Oreo, just have to click here download, or if you want to use Android Nougat, you can just simply click download and then click next. I think I have it here. Okay, yeah. So as we select image, so but at first if you're using Android Studio for the very first time, you don't have any system image available, so you need to download which system image you want to use. So you can just have to click download here, and then it will take some time for you to download that image. So if you click that, it will show you this license agreement thing. So you just have to click accept and then click next, and then it will start downloading whatever the system image that you're going to use. Let's say on my case, I want to use Oreo, so I already download Oreo. Now if you successfully downloaded that, so after it will finish completely, so this is how it looks like. You just have to click finish. So after that, you would automatically have the Oreo system image available here. Just like on my case, I already have this Oreo system image here. So I just have to click that or select that and then click next. And then you can also change the ABD name for that. So by default, it will just use Nexus 4 API 27. If you want to name it after you, it's up to you. Let's say cool. Let's say I want to rename it as that, so it's okay. And then you can also change the startup orientation for that system image. So if you want it to be like portrait orientation or landscape, you can do that. So let me just leave it by default. So after I click finish, then it would automatically create this ABD device that you can use anytime. If you want to compare how does it look on Nexus 5X, how does it look in Pixel 2, how does it look in Nexus 4, you can just simply choose that. Now since I have this virtual device again, let me just close this. I want to run this this program that we developed a while ago. So we have here this set of ABD device. So if you notice, we already have here the new ABD device that I created a while ago. So let me try to run it on my new API or ABD device. So how does it look like? So I just choose Nexus 4, so it is set by default. And then you will notice on the right side part, we have here the play button, so short for running the app. So let's just click that, run up, and then let's wait for this ABD to run or to open. So wow, cool, right? So it will show you an Android device actually in Nexus 4. Just have to wait for it to be boost or to turn on, just like the device that we have. So it will also show some status here that create notification finished. So it means that we don't have any error on our program. So it successfully installed on our AVD. So we just have to wait for the AVD to start or for our device to start. No need to click anything, just have to wait for that. And then here it is. This is our program. So our program have some text field. Enter your name part here that the user wants to put in. So you can use the keyboard part here on or your device, or you can simply use your keyboard to type. So in my case, I just use my keyboard. So either you can minimize this or can also just like using the actual device on your Android system. Okay, and then if I click yes, so how can I remove this? Yeah, something like that. So if I click yes, are you ready? Ronnel is ready. If I click no, Ronnel is not ready. Right? So this is how the program should work. So if I click that yes button, so it will look for yes listener function, and then it will display your name, and then the word is ready. Right? So that's it. We can now simply create program in Android Studio 4.0 and then run that on our emulator. So I hope you understand the process for this Android simple program that we have today. So again, you can simply go back with the PowerPoint presentation that we have it here. So this is how we actually there are some cases that settings could ask you to how many memory that you want to put in, then just have to follow this and then finish. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for listening. So I just have to look for the PowerPoint. If you have any questions or some clarifications, you can just look on this guide. Thank you very much.